The lights in the studio felt different that night. Heavier, sharper. The kind of quiet that does not feel like quiet at all, but like something holding its breath. Somewhere across the country, in a gold-trimmed room, a man was sitting with a phone in his hand. Refreshing, scrolling, waiting, because he already knew what was coming. He had known for almost 10 years. And every time that one voice spoke, he could not stop himself from reaching for the keyboard. He could not stop himself from firing back. He could not stop himself from proving the exact point that voice had just made. That is the strange gravity of this story. It is not really about the man at the microphone. It is about the man watching the microphone from somewhere else. And on this particular night, when Robert De Niro stepped up to a live camera and said what he had been saying for a decade, that man in the gold-trimmed room did what he always does. He reacted. He raged. He reached for insults he had already used. And once again, with every angry post, every threat, every furious press statement, he handed De Niro the win before the segment had even ended. What you are about to see is how one actor, armed with nothing more than his own words and 10 years of videotape, managed to do what no politician, no journalist, and no opponent ever has. He made the loudest man in America look small by saying almost nothing new at all. The cameras rolled, the lights came up, and De Niro walked into the frame the way he always walks into a room. Slow, heavy, quiet. A man who does not need volume because the country already knows his face, already knows his voice, already knows exactly where he stands. He did not arrive with a new accusation. He did not arrive with a hidden tape. He did not arrive with a secret file or a shocking revelation. He arrived with something far simpler and far more dangerous. He arrived with 10 years of his own public record, 10 years of speeches, 10 years of interviews, 10 years of television appearances. 10 years of the same warnings said in the same voice, in the same plain English, with the same calm that somehow always made the other man scream louder. That is the weapon. That is the entire secret. That is the thing almost nobody else in American public life has been able to hold for this long without flinching. Not celebrity. Celebrity is cheap. Half of American television is celebrity. What De Niro has, and what almost nobody in that business has, is consistency, stretching across nearly a decade. Never softened, never walked back, never rewritten for a changing wind. Because here is the thing most people forget. De Niro did not discover Donald Trump in 2024. He did not find his voice on this issue the month before an election. He did not stumble into the conversation because it was trending. He had been saying the same thing on the same stages in the same tone since the summer of 2016. And every word of it is sitting on tape somewhere. Every speech is in the public record. Every interview has been archived by every major network in the country. De Niro is not a man with a new opinion. He is a man with a decade of the same opinion, repeated on camera, in public, without apology, without hesitation, without a single step back. Let that sit for a moment, because in 2016, he recorded a short video that moved across the internet faster than anyone could have predicted. He stared into the camera, and he called Trump a bully, a con artist, a punk, a dog who did not do his homework. He said the man was an idiot. He said the man was a disaster. He quoted Colin Powell, calling Trump a national embarrassment, and he agreed with every word. He said it made him angry that the country had come to this. The language was blunt. The language was raw. But even the people who argued with the words could not argue with the clarity. He was not performing. He was not reading from a script. He was a lifelong New Yorker, speaking like a New Yorker, about a man who had grown up 2 streets over and somehow convinced the rest of the country he was something he was not. Then came 2018, the awards show, the live microphone, the 5 words that rolled across the country before the broadcast even ended. De Niro did not back down from any of it. He did not apologize. He did not soften. He explained later that he felt he had no choice but to go on the record, and that was all he said about it. Because for a man like De Niro, the record was the explanation. The tape was the statement. Nothing else was required. Then came 2019, a long interview, quiet room, measured pace, and De Niro did something that made even veteran political commentators pause. He described the sitting president as a malignant narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopathic, sociopathic, malignant narcissist, if you followed the words exactly. He did not toss those words around carelessly. He did not rush them. He said each one slowly, deliberately, the way a man chooses words he has been thinking about for a very long time. And then the interviewer asked him the question that would echo through every piece of American political coverage that followed. Was Trump, the interviewer asked, worse than the monstrous characters De Niro had spent his career playing? Travis Bickle, the taxi driver haunted by his own mind. Jake LaMotta, the boxer who beat his wife and destroyed his family. The gangsters, the psychopaths, the violent men De Niro had inhabited on screen for over 50 years. De Niro answered without hesitation. To me, he is. Let that sit. Read it twice. Because the man who has spent more time inside the minds of dangerous men than almost any actor in American history, sitting in a quiet room across from an interviewer, said, without blinking, that the sitting president of the United States was worse than the monsters he had played. Not as a joke, not as a bit, not as a headline grab. As a measured professional assessment from a man whose entire craft is built on understanding the interior life of violence. Then came 2024. And the courthouse, and what may have been the single most extraordinary moment of the entire decade-long campaign. De Niro walked out of the Manhattan criminal courthouse. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting over each other, Trump supporters crowding the sidewalk, helicopters overhead, the entire theater of modern American politics compressed onto one block. And there in the middle of it all stood a lifelong New Yorker, a man born and raised in that neighborhood, a man who had watched the Twin Towers fall from just a few streets away, a man who had built the Tribeca Film Festival from nothing after that morning, just to bring life back to a part of the city that had gone silent. He did not raise his voice, he did not curse, he did not perform for the cameras. He simply stood on that sidewalk, in that neighborhood, and said one line. Donald Trump does not belong in my city. He said he did not know where Trump belonged, but he knew for certain it was not there. And that one sentence, delivered on that one sidewalk by a man who had lived in that place his whole life, moved across the world before the hour was over. Because here is where the story shifts completely. Every single time De Niro has spoken this way, for nearly 10 years now, the exact same thing has happened on the other end. Trump cannot let it go, cannot walk past it, cannot absorb it, cannot simply ignore it and move on with his day. Back in 2018, Trump posted that De Niro was a very low IQ individual. He said De Niro had received too many shots to the head in his movies. He called him punch drunk, told him to wake up, Punchy. Years later, on Truth Social, Trump wrote that De Niro's acting talents had greatly diminished, that his reputation was shot, that he even needed a teleprompter to speak his foul and disgusting language. The President of the United States, one of the most powerful men alive, posting paragraph after paragraph about an actor. And then came the line that landed hardest for every generation watching at home. When De Niro was asked on stage whether it was really true that he needed a teleprompter to speak about Trump, whether he needed prepared remarks just to find the words, De Niro shrugged, he smiled, and he said 3 words: "He is so stupid." The crowd did not just laugh. The crowd roared, because they understood exactly what had just happened. They understood in that second what De Niro had just done. He had taken the single sharpest attack the president had been aiming at him for years, the claim that he could not speak without a script, and he had answered it in 3 syllables, off the cuff, without notes, without a teleprompter, without a moment of preparation. In real time, right there, in front of everybody, the insult collapsed on itself. Because one of these things had to be true. They could not both be true. Either De Niro was the low IQ, punch-drunk, teleprompter-dependent figure the president had been describing on social media for nearly a decade, or he was the man who had spoken clearly, consistently, and on the record for 10 straight years, while the sitting president had done nothing but react and rage and type. The record was the record. The tapes were the tapes, and the country had been given 10 years to decide which version it actually believed. Do not go anywhere yet, because what came next is the part most people still have not fully absorbed. Because in recent months, De Niro has done something that matters more than any individual insult or any individual speech or any single dramatic moment. He has started warning, explicitly, about the one thing every American old enough to remember the second half of the 20th century recognizes immediately from the history books. He has been warning about the habits of a leader who threatens his critics, who sues reporters, who pressures broadcasters, who celebrates the firing of comedians, who calls journalists treasonous, who demands loyalty from anyone holding a microphone. De Niro has said, on the record, that America is fighting for the democracy it once took for granted. He has said art looks for truth. He has said that is exactly why art has always been a threat to autocrats. He has said a recent presidential speech was simply insane, and that he felt he had to go on record about it. He has said the country is standing at a crossroads, and that crossroads are dangerous when the wrong people are holding the map. And then he said one final thing, a line worth repeating twice, a line worth writing down, a line worth remembering, especially for the generation that still knows what real warnings sound like from people who have lived near real dictatorships. He said this man has to be taken seriously. He said this man has to be taken out of office, not violently, not illegally, not through any shortcut, and not through any trick, through the one mechanism the founders left behind for exactly this kind of moment. Through voting, through ballots, through the simple, stubborn act of a country quietly deciding it has had enough. The record is the record. The facts are the facts. De Niro has been saying the same thing since 2016. He has said it in speeches, in interviews, in courthouse driveways, in awards show monologues, in long-form television conversations, in short videos shot against plain backdrops. He has never invented a quote. He has never fabricated an event. He has simply said, in the plainest possible English, what he sees when he looks across the country at the man in the gold-trimmed room. And every single time he says it, the sitting president of the United States walks right into the trap, reacts, rages, insults, types long paragraphs about him, proves him right by the exact shape of the response. Every post, every meltdown, every public tantrum, every teleprompter insult thrown at a man who just answered it off the cuff in 3 words. All of it confirms the thing De Niro has been calmly explaining for 10 years. The calm is the weapon. The consistency is the weapon. The record is the weapon. And the man on the other end does not have a way to beat any of it, because you cannot argue with a tape. You cannot sue a sidewalk. You cannot bully an awards show clip from 2018 into disappearing. The record stays. The record always stays. Some public figures speak once and then vanish. Some speak only when the cameras are pointed the right way. Some wait until the wind shifts to find their voice. And then there are the rare ones, the ones who speak for 10 straight years in the same voice, with the same message, in the same plain English, until finally the country understands what they were trying to say all along. Robert De Niro is one of those figures. Not because he is louder, not because he is funnier, not because he is more eloquent than anybody else, but because he refused to stop, because he refused to soften, because he refused to pretend for 10 full years that what he was seeing was anything other than what he was seeing. The cameras pulled back, the studio dimmed, the crowd applauded slowly, and then not so slowly. And somewhere in a gold-trimmed room, the man with the phone in his hand began to type again, exactly as he always does, exactly as De Niro always knew he would, proving the whole point one more time, without even realizing he was doing it. If this moment hit you the way it hit that audience, tap the subscribe button right now. Ring the bell so you do not miss the next one. Drop a comment and tell us what you remember most. Because these stories are not just about celebrities, they are not just about politicians. They are small, stubborn windows into how power actually works in this country, and what it sounds like when one citizen decides, plainly and patiently, to speak the truth for 10 straight years without backing down. The next one is coming soon, and you are not going to want to miss a single second of it.